The modern man's dilemma and the timeless solution. What if I told you that the prevailing wisdom on relationships today is not just flawed, but fundamentally misguided? What if the endless pursuit of external validation, the fear of solitude, and the constant compromise of self are not paths to true connection, but rather to perpetual heartbreak and quiet desperation? In an age saturated with fleeting digital interactions, curated online personas, and the relentless pressure to conform, many men find themselves adrift in the turbulent waters of modern romance, yearning for genuine connection, yet repeatedly encountering disappointment. We live in a world that promises instant gratification, yet delivers profound isolation. Social media paints an illusion of effortless perfection, while dating apps reduce human connection to a swipe, a fleeting judgment based on a handful of pixels. The result? A generation of men grappling with unprecedented levels of anxiety, confusion, and a gnawing sense of inadequacy when it comes to forming meaningful bonds. They are told to be vulnerable, yet punished for showing weakness. They are encouraged to chase, yet scorned for being desperate. They are advised to be themselves, yet pressured to fit an ever-shifting ideal. It's a paradox, a labyrinth of conflicting advice that leaves many feeling lost, disrespected, and utterly drained. But what if there was an ancient philosophy, forged in the crucible of classical antiquity, that offered a clear, unwavering compass for navigating these complexities? A philosophy not of fleeting trends or superficial tactics, but of enduring principles, inner strength, and profound self-respect. I'm talking about Stoicism, a school of thought that for thousands of years has empowered individuals to cultivate resilience, wisdom, and tranquility amidst life's inevitable storms. And in the realm of relationships, its insights are nothing short of revolutionary. For too long, the conversation around men and relationships has been dominated by fleeting advice, often superficial and rarely empowering. This isn't about getting women or manipulating them or playing games. This is about becoming the kind of man who naturally attracts respect, deep connection, and genuine admiration. Not by chasing, but by embodying principles that elevate your character and fortify your spirit. These are not feel-good platitudes. They are hard-hitting truths, often uncomfortable, that most men will never hear, let alone internalize. But if you commit to mastering them, you will not only transform the way women perceive you, but more importantly, the way you perceive yourself. My name is Sophia, and on this channel, Sophia's Stoicism, we delve into the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy to navigate the complexities of modern life. Today, we're tackling one of the most challenging arenas, relationships. We're going to explore 9 profound Stoic principles that, when applied with discipline and intention, can save you years of heartache, protect your invaluable time and energy, and ultimately lead you to relationships built on mutual respect, authenticity, and unwavering inner peace. So if you're tired of the endless drama, the toxic cycles, and the feeling of constantly being taken advantage of, then this video is for you. Let's break down these ancient truths and see how they can revolutionize your approach to love and life. Rule number 1: guard your past. The strategic art of disclosure. Never reveal too much about your past too soon. In an era defined by oversharing, where every fleeting thought and personal detail is broadcast across digital platforms, this Stoic principle might sound not just counterintuitive, but almost archaic. Yet, Its wisdom is more critical now than ever. Your past is a complex tapestry of experiences, triumphs, failures, and vulnerabilities. It is uniquely yours, and while it shapes who you are, it does not define your present worth or your future potential. The Stoics understood that true power lies in self-possession, in owning your narrative rather than allowing it to be weaponized against you. The peril of premature transparency. When you meet someone new, especially if you envision building something substantial and long-lasting, the impulse to lay bare your entire life story can be strong. We are often conditioned to believe that complete transparency from the outset is a hallmark of honesty and trust. However, the Stoic perspective offers a more nuanced view. There's a profound difference between honesty and full, unbridled disclosure. Not everything needs to be said, especially in the nascent stages of a relationship where trust is still being built and intentions are still being discerned. Some truths, when revealed prematurely, can become liabilities rather than assets. Consider this. Your past, with all its imperfections and unresolved chapters, can be used as ammunition in moments of conflict or manipulation. Imagine for a moment a scenario where you, in an earnest attempt to be open, casually mention a particularly messy breakup from years ago. You might share details of the emotional turmoil, the perceived injustices, or even your own mistakes. In the moment, it feels like a bonding experience, a demonstration of vulnerability. But fast forward to a heated argument months down the line, suddenly those very details, once shared in confidence, are thrown back in your face, twisted and distorted to serve as a weapon against you. You always do this, just like you did with ex-partner's name. The ammunition you willingly provided is now being used to undermine your character, to invalidate your feelings, and to control the narrative. This isn't about deceit or dishonesty. It's about strategic wisdom. It applies not only to past romantic entanglements, but also to family issues, financial struggles, personal failures, or any sensitive area of your life that carries emotional weight. While honesty is a cornerstone of any healthy relationship, it must be tempered with prudence. You are not obligated to present a full, unedited transcript of your life story to anyone, especially not in the early, fragile stages of dating when trust is still being built and intentions are still being discerned. The Stoic approach to self-preservation. Stoicism teaches us to guard certain parts of our past, not out of shame, but out of wisdom and self-respect. It's an act of self-preservation, a recognition that not everyone deserves immediate access to your deepest vulnerabilities. The early stages of dating are a period of assessment, of observing character, and of gradually building rapport. It's a time to present who you are now, what drives you, what your values are, and what you aspire to be. Your past is a part of you, but it is not the entirety of you. And it certainly isn't a tool for others to judge, exploit, or manipulate. Think of it like this. When you meet someone, you offer them a glimpse into your present self, a curated introduction. As trust deepens, as mutual respect is earned, and as the relationship demonstrates its resilience, you can slowly, incrementally, reveal more layers of your past. This gradual unveiling is a sign of true intimacy, a shared journey into deeper understanding, rather than a forced confession. It allows the other person to appreciate the context of your past within the framework of your evolving relationship, rather than using it as a prejudgmental lens. The power of mystery and self-respect. Women, indeed, all people, are naturally drawn to individuals who possess an air of mystery and self-respect. A man who guards his past, who doesn't immediately spill every detail of his previous heartbreaks or personal struggles, communicates several powerful messages. He values his privacy. He understands the importance of boundaries, and he possesses a quiet confidence that doesn't rely on external validation through oversharing. He is not desperate for approval. He is secure in his own being. Consider the contrast. A man who, on a first date, launches into a detailed monologue about his ex-girlfriend's perceived flaws, his childhood traumas, or his financial woes often comes across as emotionally unstable, lacking boundaries, or seeking therapy rather than a partner. This can be overwhelming, off-putting, and frankly, a red flag. It suggests a lack of self-awareness and an inability to process past experiences maturely. Conversely, a man who focuses on the present, on his passions, his aspirations, and his genuine interest in getting to know the other person, projects an aura of strength and self-possession. He understands that the foundation of a healthy relationship is built on shared experiences and mutual discovery, not on a preemptive unloading of emotional baggage. He allows the relationship to unfold organically, trusting that the right person will appreciate his depth when the time is right. Practical application. Less is more. So, how do you apply this Stoic principle in practice? The mantra is simple: less is more. Share what is necessary for the current conversation, for genuine connection in the present moment. But keep your private struggles, your past grievances, and your unresolved issues private, until a robust foundation of trust has been established. This doesn't mean being evasive or dishonest. It means exercising discernment and wisdom in your communication. For example, if asked about past relationships, a simple, concise answer like, "I've learned a lot from my past relationships, and I'm focused on building something meaningful now," is perfectly adequate. You don't need to detail every flaw of your ex or every mistake you made. The goal is to convey maturity and forward thinking, not to rehash old wounds. This principle also extends to your online presence. Be mindful of what you share on social media, especially in the early stages of dating. Old posts, comments, or photos can be easily misinterpreted or taken out of context, potentially creating unnecessary drama or revealing information you'd prefer to keep private until a later stage. Remember, in the digital age, your past is often just a few clicks away. Exercise the same Stoic discernment online as you would in person. Ultimately, guarding your past is an act of self-respect and strategic wisdom. It allows you to control your narrative, to build trust gradually, and to ensure that your relationships are founded on who you are now and who you are becoming, rather than on the shadows of yesterday. It's about creating a space for genuine connection to flourish, unburdened by premature judgments or the weaponization of your vulnerabilities. This isn't about being secretive. It's about being discerning, about understanding that true intimacy is built brick by brick, not by demolishing all walls at once.
Rule number 2, face the fear of being alone, the unshakable foundation of self-sufficiency. Most men today are terrified of being alone, and that fear is why so many of us end up settling in bad relationships. This statement, stark in its simplicity, cuts to the very core of a pervasive modern male dilemma. In a society that relentlessly pushes the narrative of partnership as the ultimate measure of success and happiness, the idea of being single, of being truly comfortable in one's own company, can feel like a profound failure. Yet, Stoicism offers a radical counter-narrative. True strength, true freedom, and indeed, the capacity for genuine connection can only emerge from a place of profound self-sufficiency. If you cannot handle being alone, you will forever be at the mercy of external validation, constantly seeking to fill an internal void with another person, and thus, you will never be able to choose a partner from a position of strength, but rather from a desperate need. The societal pressure cooker. From a young age, we are bombarded with images and messages that equate happiness with romantic partnership. Movies, songs, advertisements, they all paint a picture where the ultimate fulfillment is found in the arms of another. If you're single, especially as you get older, there's an unspoken societal judgment, a subtle implication that something must be wrong with you. Friends and family, often well-meaning, might constantly ask, "Are you seeing anyone?" or try to set you up. This constant external pressure can erode your sense of self-worth, making solitude feel like a punishment rather than an opportunity. But here's the hard truth. A truth that Stoicism unflinchingly presents. It is infinitely better to be single and at peace, to be comfortable and content in your own skin, than to be trapped in a relationship that systematically drains your energy, erodes your confidence, and diminishes your self-respect. Look around you. How many individuals do you know, perhaps even intimately, who cling to toxic relationships, not out of love, but out of a paralyzing fear of being alone? They endure constant arguments, subtle manipulations, emotional neglect, and even outright disrespect, all because the perceived alternative, solitude, feels far more terrifying than the familiar pain of a dysfunctional partnership. They operate under the false premise that having someone, even the wrong someone, is inherently superior to having no one. This is not how a smart man, a Stoic man, operates. The Stoic understands that true independence is not about being isolated, but about being self-sufficient. It's about cultivating an inner fortress of peace and contentment that is impervious to external circumstances, including the presence or absence of a romantic partner. Without this inner foundation, any relationship you enter will inevitably become a crutch, a desperate attempt to fill a void that only you can truly address. The path to self-comfort. Embracing solitude as a strength. So, how does one cultivate this profound comfort with solitude? It begins with intentional practice. Start spending more time with yourself, not as a punishment, but as an investment in your own well-being and growth. This might sound daunting at first, especially if you've always relied on external company for your sense of fulfillment, but the rewards are immeasurable. Go to dinner alone, not with your phone as a crutch, but truly alone, observing the world around you, savoring your meal, and engaging in quiet introspection. Travel by yourself, even if it's just a day trip to a nearby town. Experience new places, new cultures, new perspectives, all through your own eyes, unmediated by another's preferences or opinions. Read books that challenge you, that help you grow as a person, that expand your understanding of yourself and the world. Engage in hobbies that bring you genuine joy, regardless of whether they involve others. Spend time in nature, allowing its vastness to put your own concerns into perspective. The goal is to become so comfortable, so deeply at peace with your own company, that you no longer feel the compulsive need to be with someone just for the sake of it. When you stop fearing solitude, a remarkable transformation occurs. You stop settling for less. You stop accepting relationships that offer crumbs when you deserve a feast. You stop tolerating disrespect because you know, deep in your bones, that your own company is more valuable than any toxic companionship. A personal anecdote: the empty chair. I remember a period in my own life, years ago, when I was deeply uncomfortable with being alone. Every Friday night, if I didn't have plans, a wave of anxiety would wash over me. It felt like a personal failing, a testament to my inadequacy.
I would frantically text friends, scroll through social media, anything to avoid the quiet solitude of my apartment. I even found myself agreeing to dates with people I had little interest in just to fill the void, to avoid the dreaded empty chair at the dinner table. This fear led me into a series of relationships that were, in hindsight, deeply unsatisfying. I tolerated behaviors I shouldn't have, compromised on values that were important to me, and consistently put the needs and desires of others before my own. Why? Because the fear of being alone was a more potent motivator than the desire for genuine happiness. I believed, subconsciously, that any relationship, no matter how flawed, was inherently superior to having no one. This was not how a personal, painful breakup that left me utterly depleted that I was forced to confront this fear head-on. There was no one else to turn to, no immediate distraction. It was just me and the empty chair. And in that forced solitude, something shifted. I started small, going for walks alone, reading in coffee shops by myself, learning to cook meals just for me. Slowly, painstakingly, I began to discover the richness of my own company. I realized that my happiness wasn't dependent on another person, but on my own internal state. The empty chair, once a symbol of my fear, became a symbol of my freedom. This journey wasn't easy, but it was profoundly liberating. And when the right woman eventually came into my life, I was able to enter that relationship from a place of strength, not desperation. I chose her because she enhanced my already fulfilling life, not because I needed her to complete me. This is the Stoic ideal: to be self-sufficient, to be whole on your own, so that any partnership you forge is a conscious choice, a mutual enrichment, rather than a desperate clinging. The ultimate test. Would I be okay? Here's a simple, yet profoundly revealing test that the Stoics would appreciate. Ask yourself honestly, if this relationship ended tomorrow, would I be okay? If your immediate, gut-level answer is no, then you are likely relying too heavily on that relationship for your happiness, your sense of identity, and your peace of mind. This is a precarious position, as it places your most valuable internal assets, your tranquility and self-worth, entirely in the hands of another person, an external factor over which you ultimately have no control. Your peace of mind, your inner contentment, should never be dependent on someone else's presence or approval. It must be an internal state, cultivated through self-awareness, self-discipline, and a deep understanding of what truly lies within your control. The Stoics taught us to distinguish between what is within our power, our thoughts, our actions, our judgments, and what is outside our power, other people's opinions, external events, the actions of others. A relationship, by its nature, involves another person, an external factor. To tether your entire well-being to such an external, uncontrollable element is to invite inevitable suffering. By facing the fear of being alone, by embracing solitude as an opportunity for self-discovery and growth, you build an unshakable foundation of self-sufficiency. This foundation not only protects you from the pitfalls of desperate attachment, but also makes you a far more attractive and desirable partner. For who was more appealing, the man who desperately needs a relationship to feel complete, or the man who is already whole and chooses to share his fullness with another?
Rule number 3, manage your time wisely, the currency of a purposeful life. Time is your most valuable asset, and most men waste it on the wrong people. This Stoic principle is a stark reminder that our lives are finite, and every moment we spend is a non-renewable resource. In the context of relationships, this means being ruthlessly discerning about where and with whom you invest your precious hours, days, and weeks. Whether it's engaging in endless, meaningless texting with no clear intention, lingering in ambiguous situations with women who are only half interested, or, most damagingly, remaining in relationships that are clearly going nowhere, time is a currency you simply cannot afford to squander. The hidden costs of indiscriminate investment. Let me pose a challenging question. How many hours, days, even weeks of your life have you already spent chasing someone who was only vaguely interested, someone who consistently gave you mixed signals, or someone who clearly wasn't aligned with your long-term goals? How many times have you rearranged your entire schedule, missed out on valuable opportunities for personal or professional growth, or put your own aspirations on the back burner, all to cater to the whims or convenience of another person who, frankly, didn't reciprocate your level of investment? The brutal truth is this: if she isn't respecting your time, she isn't respecting you. Time is a direct reflection of value. When someone consistently undervalues your time, they are, by extension, undervaluing your worth as an individual. The Stoics understood that time is one of the few things in life that is truly within our control. How we choose to spend it, how we protect it, and how we invest it. And once it's gone forever. There are no refunds, no do-overs. This understanding necessitates a radical shift in perspective. You must become ruthless, in the most positive sense of the word, with how you allocate your time. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being self-respecting. It's about recognizing that your life's purpose, your goals, and your well-being are paramount, and that anyone or anything that consistently detracts from these without offering commensurate value is a drain you cannot afford. Setting boundaries, the shield of your time. Don't be afraid to cut ties, gracefully but firmly, with individuals who consistently demonstrate a lack of regard for your time. This might manifest as frequent cancellations, chronic lateness, vague promises, or a general unwillingness to commit. These are not minor inconveniences. They are clear signals of disinterest, or at best, a casual disregard for your value. When you observe these patterns, the Stoic response is not to chase harder, but to disengage. Move on. She doesn't deserve the time and energy you're willing to give, and you should never, under any circumstances, tolerate being strung along. Another powerful way to protect your time is to establish clear, non-negotiable boundaries. Communicate, both with your words and your actions, that your time is valuable, that you have a purposeful life, and that you are not available for meaningless interactions or endless, unproductive pursuits. This might mean saying no more often, declining invitations that don't align with your priorities, or even ending conversations that are going nowhere. For example, if you find yourself in a texting exchange that is purely superficial, lacking depth, and consuming hours of your day without any clear progression towards a meaningful connection, it's time to reevaluate. A simple, "I'm a bit busy right now, but I'd love to schedule a call or meetup if you're free later this week," can shift the dynamic. If she's genuinely interested, she'll respond positively. If not, you've saved yourself invaluable time and energy. A personal anecdote: the endless texting loop. I once had a friend, let's call him Mark, who was caught in an endless texting loop with a woman he was interested in. They would text for hours every day, sharing memes, talking about their day, and engaging in light banter. Mark was convinced this was building a connection, that it was a sign of her interest. He would rearrange his work schedule to respond promptly, delay his gym sessions, and even cut short conversations with other friends, all to cater to the whims or convenience of another person who, frankly, didn't reciprocate his level of investment. It wasn't until I, as a concerned friend, pointed out the sheer volume of time he was dedicating to this one-sided digital interaction that he had an epiphany. He realized he was treating his time as if it were infinite, and her interest as if it were guaranteed. He decided to implement a Stoic boundary.
He would no longer initiate texts, and he would only respond if she suggested a concrete plan to meet up. The result was the texting slowly dwindled and eventually stopped altogether. It was painful for Mark at first, a blow to his ego, but it was also incredibly liberating. He reclaimed his time, redirected his energy towards his goals, and eventually found a woman who genuinely valued his time and was eager to build a real connection. This story illustrates a crucial point. Your time is a finite resource. Invest it wisely. Invest it in people and activities that genuinely push you forward, that contribute to your growth, your purpose, and your well-being. Do not allow it to be siphoned away by those who are for nothing but ambiguity, distraction, or a convenient way to pass their own time. A Stoic man understands that his time is a reflection of his life, and he guards it fiercely, for it is the very fabric of his existence.
Rule number 4. Celebrate your achievements, the internal source of validation. This principle is critical in today's world of constant comparison. Men often fall into the trap of looking for validation from women, especially when it comes to their achievements. In an era where social media feeds are curated highlight reels of everyone else's successes, it's easy to fall into the trap of external validation. You land a promotion, hit a new personal best in the gym, launch a side project, or accomplish a significant personal goal. And what's the first, almost instinctive thing many men do? They look to their partner or a potential partner for approval, for praise, for that affirming nod that says, "You've done well, you are worthy." But here's the harsh truth, a truth that the Stoics understood millennia ago. If you constantly need someone else's validation to feel good about your achievements, you're in essence handing over the reins of your happiness and self-worth to an external entity. You are placing your internal state, your sense of accomplishment in their hands. And that, my friends, is a profoundly dangerous game to play. Women are wonderful, supportive partners, but they are not and should not be your sole cheerleaders, nor should they be the ultimate arbiters of how you feel about your successes. The peril of external validation. The Stoic philosophy teaches us to seek validation from within. It posits that true contentment and self-worth are not derived from external praise or recognition, but from the knowledge that you have acted virtuously, that you have pursued your goals with diligence, and that you have lived in accordance with your own principles. You should be able to feel profoundly proud of yourself, of your efforts, and of your accomplishments, regardless of whether anyone else acknowledges them. This internal locus of control is the bedrock of Stoic tranquility. When you outsource your validation, you become vulnerable. Your emotional state fluctuates wildly based on the reactions of others. If she praises you, you feel elated. If she's indifferent, or worse, downplays your success, you feel deflated, even resentful. This creates a dependency, a subtle form of emotional slavery where your inner peace is held hostage by someone else's mood or perspective. This is antithetical to Stoic freedom. Cultivating internal celebration. So, how do you cultivate this internal source of validation? It begins with a conscious decision to stop waiting for someone else to celebrate your achievements. Start celebrating yourself. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or boastful. It means taking the time, however brief, to acknowledge your hard work, your progress, and the effort you've invested. Whether it's a small victory, finally clearing your inbox, completing a challenging workout, or a major milestone, a career breakthrough, a significant personal transformation, take a moment to pause and appreciate it. This might involve a small personal ritual, buying yourself something nice that you've wanted,
going out for a solo dinner to reflect, or simply taking a quiet moment to sit with your accomplishment and feel the genuine satisfaction that comes from within. The act of self-celebration reinforces the idea that your worth is intrinsic, not contingent on external applause. It builds a reservoir of self-esteem that is resilient to the vagaries of others' opinions. The red flag of unsupportive partners. Here's a crucial point, a litmus test for the health of your relationships. If a woman consistently isn't celebrating your wins, if she downplays your success, or even worse, ignores it altogether, it is a significant red flag. A true partner, one who genuinely cares for your well-being and growth, will uplift you, encourage you, and celebrate your triumphs as if they were her own. She will be your ally, not a source of subtle sabotage or indifference. I'm not suggesting she needs to throw a parade every time you achieve something, but a genuine expression of happiness for your success, a shared moment of joy, is a fundamental component of a supportive relationship. If that's consistently absent, it speaks volumes about her character, her priorities, or her emotional maturity. It might indicate insecurity on her part or a lack of genuine investment in your personal growth. However, and this is vital, remember that even if she doesn't celebrate with you, your worth is not diminished. Her reaction or lack thereof is an external event, outside your control. Your internal state, your sense of accomplishment remains yours. The Stoic understands that while a supportive partner is a wonderful addition to life, their support is a bonus, not a necessity for your internal validation. You are the primary source of your esteem. A personal anecdote: the marathon and the silence. Years ago, I trained for and completed my first marathon. It was an incredibly challenging experience, pushing me to my physical and mental limits. I was immensely proud of myself, not just for finishing, but for the discipline and perseverance it required. At the time, I was in a relationship, and I naturally looked forward to sharing this accomplishment with her. I imagined her excitement, her congratulations, a shared sense of triumph. And when I finally crossed the finish line, exhausted but exhilarated, I called her, eager to share the news. Her response was polite but strangely muted. "Oh, that's nice," she said, before quickly changing the subject to something about her day. There was no genuine enthusiasm, no shared joy, no recognition of the immense effort I had put in. It was a moment of profound deflation for me. In that moment, I felt a pang of disappointment, a sense of being unseen. But then, a quiet voice, a nascent Stoic wisdom whispered, "Her reaction is not within your control. Your accomplishment is yours, regardless of her response." I realized that my pride in completing the marathon was intrinsic. It didn't need her validation to be real. I had done it for myself, and that was enough. While her indifference was a clear signal about the nature of our relationship, it didn't diminish my accomplishment. This experience solidified my understanding that while it's wonderful to have a partner who celebrates your wins, your self-worth must be an internal construct. Relying on external praise is like building your house on sand. It will crumble with the slightest shift in the tide. Build your self-esteem on the solid rock of your own efforts, your own virtues, and your own internal judgment. That way, you are unshakable, regardless of who is or isn't cheering from the sidelines.
Rule number 5. Safeguard your mental health, the non-negotiable inner sanctuary. In today's fast-paced, high-pressure world, mental health is everything. Yet so many men sacrifice their mental well-being for the sake of a relationship. This is perhaps one of the most critical, yet often overlooked Stoic principles in the context of modern relationships. We live in an age of unprecedented stress, anxiety, and mental health challenges. The demands of work, the constant barrage of information, the pressure to perform, all contribute to a fragile internal landscape. And into this already delicate balance, men often introduce the immense emotional complexities of romantic relationships, frequently at the expense of their own peace of mind. Whether it's enduring toxic situations, navigating constant drama, or allowing someone else to systematically manipulate their emotions, far too many men are willing to compromise their mental well-being, their inner tranquility, simply to keep a relationship afloat or to make someone else happy. This is a profound and dangerous miscalculation. Here's what you need to understand with absolute clarity. Your mental health is non-negotiable. It is the bedrock upon which everything else in your life is built. Once it begins to deteriorate, everything else, your career, your friendships, your personal goals, your physical health, will inevitably follow suit. No relationship, no matter how seemingly important or desirable, is worth losing your peace of mind over. The erosion of inner peace. Stoicism teaches us to protect our mental space fiercely, to guard our inner citadel against external disturbances. The Stoics understood that true freedom lies in our ability to control our reactions to external events, to maintain our equanimity regardless of what happens around us. When you allow relationship to consistently introduce chaos, drama, or negativity into your life, you are, in essence, opening the gates of your inner fortress and inviting the enemy within. This is a betrayal of your most sacred duty to yourself. If a woman, or indeed any person, is consistently bringing turmoil into your life through incessant arguments, emotional volatility, manipulative tactics, or a general disposition of negativity, you need to recognize this as a direct assault on your mental health. And the Stoic response is clear. You need to walk away. You are not obligated to fix her. You are not responsible for her happiness at the expense of your own. And you are certainly not obligated to sacrifice your well-being for her. Setting clear and firm boundaries around your mental health is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of profound self-preservation. If someone's behavior is causing you undue stress, anxiety, or emotional distress, you must communicate your concerns clearly and calmly. Explain the impact their actions are having on your well-being. If after this communication, the behavior persists, then you must be prepared to disengage. Your mental health is too important to compromise, too precious to be held hostage by another's dysfunction. A personal anecdote: the constant storm. I once knew a man, a brilliant and kind individual, who found himself in a relationship that was a constant storm. His partner was prone to dramatic outbursts, frequent accusations, and an almost pathological need for attention, which she often sought through creating conflict. He, being a compassionate and empathetic person, constantly tried to soothe her, to fix things, to be the calm in her chaos. He believed it was his duty, his role as a loving partner. But slowly, insidiously, the constant drama began to take its toll. He became perpetually anxious, always on edge, waiting for the next argument to erupt. His sleep suffered, his focus at work diminished, and he started withdrawing from his friends and hobbies. He was losing himself, piece by painful piece, in the relentless effort to manage her emotional volatility. His mental health, once robust,
was deteriorating rapidly. It took a severe panic attack, a moment of absolute terror and clarity, for him to realize the gravity of the situation. He was literally sacrificing his sanity for this relationship. With the support of a therapist and his closest friends, he made the incredibly difficult decision to end the relationship. The immediate aftermath was painful, filled with guilt and sadness. But within weeks, he began to reclaim his inner peace. The constant storm had passed, and he could finally breathe again. He realized that while he cared for her, he could not and should not set himself on fire to keep her warm. This story is a stark reminder. Staying in a toxic relationship can destroy your mental health faster and more thoroughly than almost anything else. It's like pouring poison into your mind every single day, slowly eroding your sense of self-worth, your confidence, your ability to think clearly, and your capacity for joy. Don't let it get that far. Don't wait for a crisis to force your hand. Proactive mental wellness. Take control of your mental health proactively. This means actively managing stress through healthy coping mechanisms, exercise, meditation, spending time in nature, pursuing hobbies. It means practicing mindfulness, being present in the moment, and observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment. Most importantly, it means surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, who support your growth, who bring positivity and calm into your life, rather than draining your reserves. Your mental peace is your ultimate responsibility. It is a sacred trust you hold for yourself. Never ever give anyone the power to take it away from you. The Stoic understands that true wealth is not found in external possessions or relationships, but in the tranquility of a well-ordered mind. Guard that tranquility above all else.
Rule number 6. Be true to yourself. The unwavering anchor of authenticity. One of the biggest traps men fall into in relationships is losing themselves. This observation, while seemingly simple, encapsulates a profound and pervasive challenge in modern romance. You start dating someone, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to compromise who you are, to bend your preferences, suppress your opinions, and even alter your behaviors, all in a misguided attempt to keep her happy, to avoid conflict, or to fit into a perceived ideal. You stop doing the things you love, you start dressing differently, you even censor your genuine thoughts because you don't want to rock the boat. This, my friends, is a colossal mistake, a betrayal of the self that ultimately leads to long-term misery, and, ironically, the very outcome you sought to avoid, a loss of respect from your partner. The peril of self-betrayal. Here's what most men don't realize. When you systematically sacrifice who you are to make someone else happy, you are setting yourself up for a life of quiet resentment and profound inauthenticity. The Stoic philosophy, at its core, champions authenticity and integrity. It teaches us that our true power lies in living in accordance with our own nature, our own values, and our own rational judgment. If you are constantly bending and shifting, molding yourself into whatever you believe someone else wants you to be, you are not only betraying yourself, but you are also presenting a false self to the world. And a relationship built on a false self is inherently unstable. And here's the ultimate irony. Eventually, she's going to lose respect for you. Women, whether consciously or subconsciously, are naturally drawn to men who are grounded in their identity, who possess a strong sense of self, and who don't waver based on external validation or the fleeting desires of others. They are attracted to authenticity, to a man who knows who he is and stands firmly in his own truth.
When you become a chameleon, constantly changing your colors to match her environment, you signal a lack of conviction, a weakness of character, and an absence of genuine self-respect. Think about it. How many times have you witnessed a friend, or perhaps even yourself, transform into a completely different person when they enter a new relationship? They suddenly adopt new interests they never had before, agree with opinions they don't actually hold, and abandon long-standing friendships or hobbies, all in the name of keeping the peace or making her happy. They become a diluted version of themselves, a shadow of the man they once were. But here's the brutal truth. Women don't respect men who can't stand up for themselves, who lack a backbone, or who are willing to abandon their identity at the first sign of disapproval. Respect is earned through integrity, through consistency, and through a quiet confidence that stems from knowing who you are and what you stand for. Let me give you a common scenario. Imagine you're a guy who genuinely loves playing video games in his free time, or perhaps you're passionate about watching sports. These are legitimate hobbies that bring you joy and relaxation. Then you start dating a woman who perhaps views these activities as a waste of time or immature. She might make subtle digs, express disapproval, or even explicitly state her dislike for them. What do? If you're like many men caught in this trap, you start to compromise. You play less, you watch less, you hide your interests. All of a sudden, you're doing things you don't genuinely enjoy. Or worse, not doing things you do enjoy simply to avoid her disapproval or to keep her from getting upset. You've lost. You sacrificed a part of yourself, a part of your genuine joy for the sake of perceived harmony. This is where the Stoic principle of being true to yourself becomes a powerful shield. You must learn to say no. You don't have to agree with everything she says. You don't have to love everything she loves. It is perfectly acceptable and indeed crucial to have your own opinions, your own interests, and your own distinct identity. A real man, a Stoic man, has his own inner world, his own passions, and he doesn't compromise them for anyone. This doesn't mean being rigid or unwilling to compromise on minor things. Healthy relationships involve mutual give and take. But there's a vast difference between healthy compromise and self-betrayal. Compromise is about finding common ground while retaining your core identity. Self-betrayal is about abandoning your core identity to appease another. The magnetic pull of authenticity. When you are true to yourself, when you stand firm in your values and your identity, something remarkable happens. You become magnetic. Authenticity is inherently attractive. It signals confidence, integrity, and the deep sense of self-respect. She will respect you for it more, not less. She will know where she stands with you. She will appreciate that you are a man of substance, not a shapeless blob molding himself to her whim. And moreover, being true to yourself ensures that the relationship you build is based on genuine compatibility. If she falls in love with the authentic you, then the foundation is solid. If she falls in love with a version of you that you fabricated to please her, then the relationship is based on a lie. And it's only a matter of time before the cracks begin to show. And when they do, the disillusionment will be far more painful for both of you. So, embrace your quirks, your passions, your unique perspectives. Don't be afraid to express your honest opinions, even if they differ from hers. Maintain your hobbies, your friendships, and your personal pursuits. These are the anchors of your identity. By doing so, you not only honor yourself, but also create the conditions for a relationship that is built on genuine respect, mutual understanding, and the profound joy of two authentic individuals choosing to share their lives rather than two half-selves desperately trying to complete each other.
Rule number 7. Don't sacrifice your path for others. The unwavering pursuit of purpose. This one hits home for a lot of guys. You meet a woman, she's amazing, and before you know it, you're making compromises left and right to fit into her world.
This is a subtle, insidious trap that ensnares many well-intentioned men. The initial intoxicating rush of a new relationship, the desire to please, to merge lives, can lead to a gradual, almost imperceptible erosion of one's own life path. You start skipping workouts, taking fewer risks at work, perhaps even passing up significant opportunities for personal or professional advancement, all because they don't perfectly align with her plans, her comfort zone, or her vision for your shared future. This, my friends, is dangerous territory, a slippery slope that can lead to profound regret and a life unlived. The sacredness of your purpose. Stoicism teaches that your path, your purpose in life, is sacred and non-negotiable. You, as an individual, possess unique dreams, aspirations, and ambitions that are intrinsically yours. These are not mere whims, they are the very essence of your potential, the blueprint for the life you are meant to build. When you begin to sacrifice these fundamental dreams, these core drivers of your being, simply to please someone else, you are committing a profound act of self-betrayal. You are, in essence, throwing away the future you could have had, the man you were meant to become, for the sake of maintaining a present comfort or avoiding a potential conflict. No woman, no relationship is worth that ultimate sacrifice. Let me paint you a vivid picture, a scenario that plays out in countless lives. Imagine you've always harbored a deep-seated desire to start your own business, to be an entrepreneur, to build something from the ground up. You've researched, you've planned, you've dreamed of this future. Then you meet a woman, and she's wonderful, but she's also risk-averse. She values stability, predictability. She likes the comfort of your current secure job. She expresses her anxieties about the uncertainty of entrepreneurship, perhaps subtly, perhaps overtly. What do? If you fall into the trap, you compromise. You stay in your comfort zone. You settle for mediocrity, for a life that is safe but unfulfilling. Years later, you find yourself looking back, filled with the gnawing sense of regret, a profound what if. You didn't chase your dreams. You didn't live up to your potential. And this isn't just a loss for you. It's a loss for the world, for all the good you could have created, all the impact you could have made had you stayed true to your sacred path. The supportive partner, an ally, not an obstacle. Stay on your path, no matter what. This doesn't mean being insensitive to your partner's feelings or dismissing their concerns. It means recognizing that a true partner, a woman who genuinely loves and respects you, will be supportive of your ambitions, not an obstacle to them. She will be an ally in your pursuit of purpose, not a force that stifles your growth. She will understand that your individual fulfillment ultimately contributes to the health and vibrancy of the relationship itself. If she is consistently unsupportive of your goals, if she actively discourages your aspirations, or if she subtly manipulates you into abandoning your dreams, then she is not the right woman for you. Her actions indicate a fundamental misalignment of values, a lack of respect for your individual journey, or perhaps even an underlying insecurity that fears your growth. Stop looking for approval to pursue your purpose. Start living for yourself, for the man you are meant to become. Your life is your own, and your purpose is your responsibility. If you are sacrificing your future, your potential, and your deepest aspirations just to keep someone in your present, you are making a monumental mistake. The temporary comfort of avoiding conflict or maintaining a relationship at all costs will inevitably be overshadowed by the bitter taste of regret. A personal anecdote: the dream deferred. I once had a mentor who shared a powerful story with me. He had always dreamed of becoming a writer, of leaving his corporate job to pursue his passion full-time. He had a supportive family, but his then-girlfriend was deeply uncomfortable with the idea. She saw it as irresponsible, financially risky, and a threat to their comfortable lifestyle. She didn't forbid it, but her constant anxieties, her subtle criticisms, and her emotional withdrawal whenever he brought it up slowly chipped away at his resolve. He deferred his dream. He stayed in the corporate world, accumulating wealth but losing something far more valuable, his sense of purpose and creative fulfillment. Years passed. The relationship eventually ended for unrelated reasons, but the regret lingered, a heavy weight in his heart. He told me, "Sophia, I realized too late that I had traded my soul for comfort. I had sacrificed the man I was meant to be for a relationship that ultimately didn't last. The biggest mistake wasn't losing her. It was losing myself in the process." He eventually did pursue his writing much later in life, but the years lost, the potential unfulfilled, haunted him. His story became a powerful lesson for me. Your path is your own. It is a sacred journey. While a partner can walk alongside you, they should never dictate your direction or demand that you abandon your quest. The Stoic understands that true partnership is about two individuals, each pursuing their own virtuous path, supporting and inspiring each other along the way, rather than one sacrificing their journey for the other. Rule number 8. Prioritize relationships with friends and family, the indispensable support system. A lot of guys make the mistake of abandoning their support system when they get into a relationship. This is a classic blunder, a common pitfall that many men in the intoxicating early stages of a new romance fall into. You meet a girl, you're head over heels, and suddenly your long-standing friendships, your family bonds, and your broader social network take a back seat. Weekends are exclusively for her, calls to your parents become less frequent, and your regular poker night with the boys is a distant memory. But here's the stark reality. This is a fast track to isolation, and if, or more likely when, things go south in your romantic relationship, which they often do given the transient nature of many modern connections, you'll find yourself adrift with no one to turn to, no familiar anchors in the storm. The foundation of your life. Let's break this down with Stoic clarity. Your friends and family are your foundation. They were there before the relationship, and they will be there after. They are the constants, the unwavering pillars of support that keep you grounded, that provide perspective, and that offer unconditional love, or at least a very high degree of it. A strong, diverse support system is not a luxury. It is a necessity for your mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. They are the ones who will call you out when you're making mistakes, who will offer honest feedback when you're blinded by infatuation, and most crucially, who will help you pick up the pieces when things inevitably fall apart. Don't be that guy. Maintaining balance, the Stoic approach to social bonds. Maintaining your social life, your connections with friends and family, even when you're deeply in love, is not just about having a backup plan. It's about maintaining a healthy, balanced, and resilient life. A Stoic understands that true happiness and stability come from a well-ordered life, one that includes diverse sources of joy, support, and meaning. Your romantic relationship is one important component, but it should never be the only component. Make time for your friends. Go out with your buddies. Engage in your shared hobbies. Have those conversations that only your closest friends understand. Call your mom. Visit your dad. Attend family gatherings. These connections nourish your soul in ways a romantic relationship cannot. They provide different perspectives, different forms of support, and a sense of belonging that extends beyond the confines of a single partnership. A good woman, A secure and mature woman will respect this. She will understand that your life doesn't and shouldn't revolve solely around her. She will appreciate the fact that you have strong bonds outside of your relationship, that you are a well-rounded individual with a rich and varied life. In fact, and here's a little secret, women are often naturally more attracted to men who have a life outside of the relationship. It signals confidence, independence, and a healthy sense of self. It shows that you are not desperate, that you are not seeking to fill a void with her, but rather choosing to share your already full life with her. A personal anecdote: the disappearing act. I had a close friend, let's call him David, who was notorious for his disappearing acts whenever he got into a new relationship. He was a gregarious, outgoing guy with a wide circle of friends and a very close-knit family. But the moment he started dating someone seriously, he would vanish. Calls would be unanswered, plans would be canceled last minute, and he would become completely absorbed in his new romance. His friends and family, though understanding at first, eventually grew accustomed to his absence. Inevitably, after a few months or a year, the relationship would end and David would reappear, often heartbroken and bewildered, wondering why his friends weren't as readily available as they once were. He had, in his infatuation, neglected the very people who were his most consistent source of support and comfort. He had treated his friendships as expendable, only to realize their true value when his romantic relationship faltered. It took several cycles of this pattern for David to learn his lesson. He eventually realized that his friends and family weren't just there for him when he was single. They were an integral part of his identity and well-being, regardless of his relationship status. He learned to prioritize balance, to consciously carve out time for all the important people in his life, even when he was deeply in love. And ironically, his relationships became healthier and more stable as a result, because he was bringing a more complete, more grounded version of himself to them. Balance is key. Your world should not shrink down just to her. It should expand to include her alongside all the other meaningful connections and pursuits that make your life rich and fulfilling. The Stoic understands that a well-lived life is a balanced life, one where all virtues and relationships are cultivated with wisdom and discernment. Nurture your support system, for they are the true anchors in the unpredictable seas of life.
Rule number 9. Avoid obsessive devotion, the peril of placing her on a pedestal. This is probably the most important principle of all. Never, ever become obsessed with any one woman. This statement, delivered with Stoic bluntness, cuts to the heart of a common male pitfall that undermines both self-respect and the very relationships men seek to cultivate. I don't care how amazing she is, how beautiful, how intelligent, how kind, or how perfectly she seems to fit your ideal. When you allow yourself to become obsessed, to place her on a pedestal, you are in essence giving away your power, surrendering your autonomy, and setting yourself up for inevitable disappointment and emotional instability. This is not attractive, and it is most certainly not sustainable. The illusion of perfection and the loss of power. Obsessive devotion is not love, it is dependence. It is a psychological state where your entire world begins to revolve around another person, where your happiness, your self-worth, and your emotional equilibrium become entirely contingent on their presence, their approval, and their actions. You start overthinking everything she says or does, questioning your own worth, and feeling as though your entire existence hangs precariously on her every mood or decision. This is a surefire way to push her away, to suffocate the very connection you desperately seek to preserve. Women, fundamentally, do not want a man who revolves his entire life around them. They want a man who has his own life, his own purpose, his own passions, and his own sense of self. They are attracted to strength, to independence, to a man who is a complete individual, not a half person desperately seeking completion in another.
When you become obsessive, you signal a lack of self-sufficiency, a desperate neediness that is inherently unattractive and ultimately unsustainable. Think about this common scenario. You meet a girl, and within a few weeks, she's all you can think about. Your friends notice you're blowing them off to spend more time with her, you're checking your phone obsessively, waiting for her text, analyzing every word. Every time she doesn't respond immediately, a wave of anxiety washes over you. You find yourself constantly seeking her approval, tailoring your opinions to match hers, and abandoning your own interests to align with hers. This is obsession, and it's not just unhealthy for you, it's a major turnoff for her. The Stoic path to emotional control. Stoicism teaches us to remain calm, composed, and in control of our emotions, particularly those that arise from external attachments. The Stoic understands that true freedom comes from recognizing that you are the center of your own universe, not another person. No matter how wonderful she is just one part of your life, albeit an important one. If you make her the entire center, if you elevate her to the status of a deity, you are violating a fundamental Stoic principle, placing your happiness in something outside your control. This doesn't mean you shouldn't love deeply, passionately, or commit fully to a relationship. On the contrary, Stoicism encourages deep, meaningful connections, but it distinguishes between healthy love and unhealthy attachment. Healthy love is about mutual respect, shared growth, and a conscious choice to be together. Unhealthy attachment, or obsession, is about neediness, fear, and a desperate clinging that ultimately destroys the very thing it seeks to possess. A personal anecdote: the pedestal and the fall. I had a friend who, in his early 20s, fell head over heels for a woman. He was completely smitten, and understandably so. She was intelligent, beautiful, and charismatic. But his admiration quickly morphed into obsession. He put her on such a high pedestal that she became almost untouchable, an idealized figure rather than a real person. He would constantly seek her approval, defer to her every opinion, and abandon his own interests to align with hers. His entire identity became wrapped up in being her boyfriend. Initially, she seemed to enjoy the attention, but over time, it became suffocating. She started to pull away, feeling the immense pressure of his expectations and the weight of his entire emotional world resting on her shoulders. He couldn't understand why. He was doing everything right, being devoted, attentive, always available, but what he failed to see was that he had lost himself in the process. He had become a shadow, a reflection of her desires, rather than a man with his own light. The relationship eventually crumbled, and he was devastated. He felt like his world had ended because his entire world was her. It took him a long time to recover, to rebuild his sense of self, and to understand that his worth was not dependent on her presence or approval. He learned through painful experience that placing someone on a pedestal doesn't elevate them. It diminishes you, and ultimately it makes the fall far more devastating. This experience taught him and me a crucial Stoic lesson. Love with an open hand, not a clenched fist. Appreciate her, cherish her, but never make her the sole source of your happiness or the entire reason for your existence. Maintain your own identity, your own purpose, your own inner strength. That way, your love is a choice, a gift you offer from a place of wholeness rather than a desperate plea from a place of emptiness.
Conclusion: the Stoic man is a master of self, a magnet for respect. We've journeyed through 9 profound Stoic principles, each a powerful tool for navigating the often turbulent waters of modern relationships. From guarding your past to embracing solitude, from managing your time wisely to celebrating your own achievements. From safeguarding your mental health to being true to yourself. From pursuing your path relentlessly to prioritizing your support system. And finally,
to avoiding the perilous trap of obsessive devotion. These are not mere tips or tricks. They are fundamental shifts in mindset, profound commitments to self-mastery that will inevitably transform not just your relationships with women, but your entire life. The core lesson: internal locus of control. If there is one overarching lesson to take from all these principles, it is this: cultivate an internal locus of control. The Stoics constantly reminded us that true power and peace come from focusing on what is within our control: our thoughts, our judgments, our actions, our character, and letting go of what is outside our control: other people's opinions, their actions, external circumstances, and the outcomes of events. When you apply this to relationships, it means your worth is intrinsic. It does not depend on a woman's approval, her presence, or her validation. Your happiness is your responsibility. No one else can give it to you, and no one else can take it away unless you grant them that power. Your peace of mind is paramount. Protect it fiercely from external chaos and emotional manipulation. Your path is sacred. Your purpose and aspirations are yours to pursue regardless of external pressures. Your identity is unshakable. Be authentic, be true to yourself, and do not compromise your core values for anyone. The transformation from desperation and neediness to dignity, self-respect, and quiet confidence. You stop chasing and you start attracting. You stop settling and you start choosing. You stop reacting to external stimuli and you start acting from a place of inner strength and deliberate intention. This transformation is not about becoming cold or unfeeling. On the contrary, it allows you to love more deeply, more authentically, and more freely because your love is not born of need, but of abundance. You're not seeking to complete yourself through another, but rather choosing to share your already complete self with a partner who aligns with your values and respects your journey. The attractive power of the Stoic man. Consider the man who embodies these Stoic virtues. He is mysterious and intriguing. Because he doesn't overshare, he invites curiosity and respect. Self-sufficient and resilient. Because he's comfortable alone, he chooses relationships from strength, not fear. Purposeful and disciplined. Because he values his time, he invested wisely in what truly matters. Internally validated. Because he celebrates his own achievements, he is unshakable by external opinions. Mentally fortified. Because he guards his peace, he is resilient to drama and negativity. Authentic and unwavering. Because he is true to himself, he commands respect and builds genuine connections. Driven by purpose. Because he protects his path, he inspires and achieves his potential. Well-connected and grounded. Because he nurtures his support system, he has a rich and balanced life. Loving without obsession. Because he controls his attachments, his love is healthy and free. This is the Stoic man. He is not perfect, for no human is. But he is constantly striving for self-mastery, for virtue, for a life lived in accordance with reason and wisdom. And in doing so, he becomes a magnet for respect, for genuine connection, and for a profound sense of inner peace that transcends the fleeting dramas of modern romance. This isn't just theory, it's a practical philosophy for living. The challenge now is to integrate these principles into your daily life. Start small. Choose one principle that resonates most deeply with you and commit to practicing it consistently. Observe the changes in your interactions, in your emotional state, and in the quality of your relationships. Remember, the journey of self-mastery is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be setbacks, moments of weakness, and times when you fall back into old patterns. But the Stoic path is about continuous effort, about learning from your mistakes, and about consistently striving to be a better version of yourself. Each conscious choice, each act of self-discipline, each moment of reflection builds upon the last, strengthening your inner fortress and bringing you closer to the ideal of the Stoic man. Thank you for joining me on Sophia's Stoicism. If this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights into applying ancient wisdom to modern life. And remember, the greatest power you possess is the power over your own mind. Cultivate it wisely.